So this is one of my favorite pours ever in the history of ever. I look forward to this bar all year long. It is a 6-layer pour, completely perfect, completely delightful, and I had the most fun ever making this bar because I didn't make it. A apprentice did. But before I get into what it is she made, hello, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And today we are making the Pride Bar, or more specifically, Georgia May is making the Pride Bar, and I get to watch. Now, the Pride Bar comes out once a year for the entire month of June, and it's been the same every single year, and it's absolutely delightful. Again, it's 6 perfect layers, nothing wrong with them. Big, bright, beautiful colors, all of the happiness and the love and the just amazingness that comes with Pride is represented in this bar. It is scented with lime and orange and something else amazing, I forget. It's just lovely. And yeah, again, I did not make this bar, the apprentice did. And she did an excellent job, and she's going to show you how she managed to get 6 perfect layers in one batch of soap. Let's go. Hooray! It's Pride Bar season! I love when this bar comes back into our line. We only do it once a year, right? For 1 month, the month of June, we have this beautiful rainbow layered soap that smells amazing, right? It has lime and mandarin and tangerine, a little bit of coconut, and some watermelon. It just smells bright and fun and happy, which is, exactly like every Pride festival or parade that I've ever been to. It's bright and fun and happy and so full of love. And so the 1 month out of the year that we bring this into the line, I get super happy. Now, this pour is a 6-layer pour. And so what we are doing here, rather what Georgia May is doing here, is we are actually splitting the batch in half. And so we're going to work with 3 colors, 3 layers, at a time. So she has made enough soap batter there, and she has soaked it to just emulsification in order to just work with 3 layers at a time, so you don't have a pot of soap that is continuing to harden as you are waiting for the soap that's in the mold to harden. So that's a really, really good way to do layers. You can do each of the layers individually and like soap them individually, so just the right amount of oils, the right amount of lye, all that jazz for each individual layer. Or you can do it like this, and we're essentially splitting the total batch weight in half to allow her lots of time to work on each of the layers. Because the trick with layers, especially when you're looking for actual really straight layers, is you want it to be the soap underneath to be firm enough to hold the soap that you're putting above it. So you want that to firm up, reasonably quickly. But while that's firming up, you have the stuff that's in the pots that are in your, waiting, your next layers. They're just waiting to, be put in. But as they're just hanging out, they're getting thick. So Georgia May is taking the stick blender to the purple section, which will be the bottom of the bar, right? So she's working, backwards from the rainbow essentially. And she is thickening up this soap so it will, firm up faster in the mold, which is a great idea. And I love everything about that because, again, it's going to it takes some time for each of these layers to really fully set up. This is why I hate layered soaps, because it's time and it's patience, and those are two things that I have weirdly in my life never ever had. Time or patience, really. So this is why layered soaps are so complicated for me, because I don't do well with waiting. But this is in the mold, and it's going to be hardening up as she gets the next layer ready, which will be the blue. Now, for each layer, she is putting in her liquids, so her kaolin clay, as well as the scent blend, and then the color that is dispersed in a little bit of oil, so we have a little bit of an extra super fat going on in this. This particular soap is super fatted, around 8%, when you have the inclusion of the colors that are mixed in with the oils there, they're dispersed with the oils. And we go either way with that. Sometimes we actually pour out oils from the main batch. Sometimes we add more oils to disperse the colors and super fat a little bit more. It goes either way, just depending on what we are in the mood to do and what the bar is calling for. So this batter actually looks really good. It has a nice kind of medium weight consistency to it that will allow her to put it into the mold gently on top of. And you see what she did with her spatula there? She tested it, and yeah, it looks pretty good. The purple should not move, so she should be able to pour the blue, right into the mold, and it is still fluid enough to do that, to pour. And I doubt very much that the green will, yield the same results for her. It will probably be more of a, blob for the green to get into the mold over the blue. Because again, now the blue needs to set up before you can put the green on top of that. And like I said, layered soaps, they're long. It's definitely a process. It's time consuming. And the waiting for the things to set up is probably, for each layer to set up, is probably what takes the most time. And in total, I mean, this is a kind of long one, really. And this entire pour, really, for Georgia, when she does the two separate, batches and does all the layers, all in, she spent probably, I don't know, an hour and a half on just to pour this bar. So, yeah, very time consuming. You remember what my favorite type of soap is, right? One with one pot and, 30 minutes or less, just like my food. So yeah, this is not that, and I'm so glad that Georgia is making the Pride bars this year. So all I have to do is ooh and ah over them and smell them and be happy and love the design and not have the pain of actually having made them, in my mind. So final layer for this particular soap batch, right? For this half batch essentially, is the green, and she's gonna mix all of that up and see what the consistency is gonna be like to put it over the blue. And you see how she's really kind of beaten it. See how thick the green soap got while it was waiting? Like I said, we're zooming through this, and I cut a lot of the waiting bits out, but this is probably 25 minutes into the pour at this point, and she's working with some thicker batter. But do you see how nice it loosened up there? When you put the liquid ingredients in at the end, and that's a big trick for a hot process soaps for sure. Put your liquid ingredients in at the end to loosen up the batter, but that also works for cold process. And as you can see, it worked reasonably well, and it loosened the batter up enough to make sure everything was fully incorporated. Now, as far as being able to pour this batter over the blue, that is another question entirely. So it looks like she is going to just be doing a glop with all of it. It's a reasonable consistency, but just looking at the blue underneath, the blue might be a little bit too thin to actually handle it. But she's going. She's doing the thing. I love her. She's awesome. And I love this bar, and again, I love that I am not making this bar because layers suck. But look at her, she's great at it. She's good. She's got patience, which is weird because she doesn't have patience for much of anything in her life, but when it comes to soap making, she's patient. It's impressive. It's definitely a thing. And while this is setting up the 3 layers on the bottom, right, the purple, the blue, and the green, she is going to prepare the next batch of soap. So she's going to measure out her lye and her water and her oils and get ready to turn, you know, that soap into the top 3 layers of the Pride bar, which will be the red, the orange, and the yellow. And yeah, that's kind of that. So let's move on to, you know, number 2. And here it is, ready for number 2. So we have exact same oil recipe, exact same lye content. We're still sitting at about a 7-8% super fat for the entire bar. And we have, again, the same scent, that big, bright, beautiful citrus blend with a little bit of, you know, melon and coconut. Very fruity, very awesome. And the mica colors in this, we have the red, the orange, and the yellow. And yeah, micas for all of them. And then obviously you have the kaolin clay, which has been dispersed in water for this. Not because we're playing with glycerin rivers, but because the water will actually help loosen up the batch with each, you know, section long enough to, you know, allow you to pour it. So we're using water for our little liquid stage. And same concept as before, she's going to measure out all of the different, you know, sections, have them equal in weight, so the individual layers are all even. And then she will move on with, like, the yellow soap is next up, actually, if we're going backwards from the rainbow. And she will then be putting that over the bar that has been setting for probably 30-ish minutes at this point. Those first 3 are probably have probably been setting up for about 3 minutes. Or 30 minutes. Wow, 3 minutes, that's nothing. And so yeah, this particular part here, the yellow, it will also be very, very thin. And she will take the stick blender to this. Again, it's the exact same process, so you're just doing it with the yellow instead of the purple this time around. She will take the stick blender to this to thicken it up in the actual pot to help out with the thickening of it when it gets into the mold, so we can speed up at least the bottom layer, if nothing else. And now she will be moving on to the pouring over the green, and the green looks good. It's super awesome and very firm, so this will work out really well. And the cool thing about cold process when you're pouring over a soap that has already been firmed up, if the soap has been poured within the last, you know, 12 hours or so, you will not have any problems with separation. And honestly, even for soaps that have set up for longer, like for example, whenever I have extra soap batter at the end of a pour, I just have a random silicone mold sitting there, and I just kind of dump all of it into that silicone mold, whatever I have left. And that becomes my everything but the kitchen sink bar on the website in the scratch and dent line, because it's literally every soap that I've made for, you know, the day or the week or whatever. And so there will be soap that will have sat there, you know, if, let's say I made soap on Sunday and I didn't make soap again until Wednesday for some crazy reason. It will still adhere really well. I've had not had any problems with cold process soap actually separating. I think the reason for that is because you still have that heat thing going on as saponification is you know, doing its thing. Because once you mix the lye water into your oils, your lye solution is working to find, you know, all of its mates within the fatty acids, and it's, you know, going through a chemical change, again called saponification, that changes all of the things that you have in your soap to what is chemically a salt. And with that process, while the lye solution is looking for its mates and, you know, the fatty acid chain is doing the same thing, it gets hot inside your soap. So we see when the lye water itself gets hot and we cool it down, and then we, you know, add it to the oils, and it continues to rise in temperature through that process, whether or not you put it into an oven. In fact, a lot of soap makers will actually take their soaps, and especially for ones that have a lot of solid oils, like a lot of coconut or, you know, what have you, cocoa butter, whatever, because that can actually, that heat process can actually create big sort of like ravines in the top of your soap. and they don't want that, and so they'll actually go straight from this pouring stage into the freezer to slow down the heat process. So it does get hot inside the bars, and so that's why I think that it continues that we don't have any problems with, you know, one layer adhering to the next, even if that soap was poured literally days ago. So there's a little, you know, fun info thing for you, and maybe you're walking away thinking, maybe I should try to put my soaps in the freezer. And if you do that, let me know. Let me know how it goes, because I have never done that. I C-pop all my stuff, and I don't care if I get the, you know, the crack down the middle or not, because I love C-popping soaps, and there are reasons to not C-pop, but those reasons do not apply to my soapy style or my soap recipes, really. So it's all good. Now, the orange actually went down really well into this, and it was a really good consistency. And see how she was banging the mold down on the table? You want to get rid of any air pockets, and you have a much higher likelihood of having air pockets when you're working with thick batter than when you're working with thin batter. And I guess that's another reason why I really like working with thin batters and swirls and all that jazz, because you don't have to worry about the air pockets or banging your mold down. And it's actually very rare that I remember to bang my mold down. And see the pink, she had the exact same situation that she did with the green. Very, very thick batter. But look at the liquid incorporation. So you have your scent, really, and then you have your kaolin clay that's dispersed in water, and then your colorant that is dispersed in oils. You're adding a little bit extra, you know, liquid and oils to this, and it makes the batter nice and fluid again. So again, this does loosen it up enough to work with it. So keep that in mind if you are working on a layered soap. And, you know, just full disclosure through the rest of this video, you may hear some bangs and all of that jazz. We have neighbors that are actually setting off fireworks right now while I'm doing this, like it's the 4th of July or something. And so that's, you know, that's what it is. I don't live in, you know, like a, you know, war zone or whatever. It's just, it's fireworks, and it's summertime, and it's a thing. So they're having fun, and that's awesome. Anyway, this pink layer, the ready pink layer, whatever, either way, it is the very last. It is the top layer of all of this, and everything looks great. Like, if anything, I think maybe the orange might have been a little thin to pour the pink onto, but I think that would be the only place that we would see any real not completely straight lines with this. And I don't really think it's a big deal. Crooked lines are great for me, but this is going to be covered and spritzed and put in the oven to C-pop overnight, and then we will cut into it tomorrow, and so we can see, you know, Georgia May's beautiful creation. And I absolutely love her super attention to detail, again, with all of this. And look at this, she's not even going to leave it like this. She could totally do it, but she's not gonna. What is she going to do? She is going to take skewer to it. Oh, it's so pretty. Just that little finishing touch actually really adds to the bar, and it's so delightful. And she did such a good job on this pour. Okay, it is cut day, and look at that bar. It is so pretty. And we do see some holes in the sides there from, you know, air pockets being a thing, but that's okay, because again, we cut our soaps so soft that you can use the end pieces to clean up any sort of pockets that you see on the sides, and it'll be no problem at all. And if you're wondering why there are 4 hands in here, it's because, oh, look, it's so pretty. Good job. Way to go. That's such a beautiful bar. I love the Pride bar. It is so happy. And yeah, no, I mean, the layers are not like completely strict and perfect, but I like it because it's like a Pride flag waving, and that's never super strict and perfect, is it? It's blowing in the breeze, all happy. And so it's beautiful. It's such a good job. She did awesome. Yes. And the scent on these is really, it's amazing too. It's so bright and so happy and just all of the things that make me smile in the whole entire world. So I felt it was very fitting for this bar. But again, I only carry in June, which is kind of weird because it's June, like it's more like a week into June right now. So sorry, you get it for like 3 weeks instead of 4. But yes, no, these are beautiful. She did an amazing job. All the colors really popped really well. And yeah, again, so if you're wondering why we have 4 hands in here and some of them are mine and some of them are hers, it's because we were actually here to film together, which very rarely happens. And so we were talking about the best way to cut the Pride bar. And that's why Georgia does not have 4 hands. She works like she has 4 hands though. It's amazing. Like she works like she has several hands. That's just how good she is, and that's how good these bars are too. She did such a good job. And we recently started doing the whole, like we implemented a rule at the shop. If you make it, you have to cut it. Because before she would make soap, the other soap apprentices would make soap, and I would come in and I would cut them up so they could get, you know, air to them as quickly as possible. But I realized that I was taking away like the most fun part of the entire process was the cutting and the pulling of the first bar to see how good your design was. And so she's cutting her bar and I'm just helping her figure out the best way to do it. And yeah, that is beautiful. She did such an amazing job. That is a day 68, the Pride bar, and 6-layer soap in 2 sections. And there is just nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. And that is the Pride bar. And again, I love everything about this soap. There's nothing wrong with it. The scent is amazing. The colors are bright. The lines are crisp. Everything is absolutely delightful. And I love the soap apprentice's creativity in deciding to essentially split the batch in half and only work with 3 layers at a time. That was very smart. Because when you are dealing with layered pours, you really do want to try to keep the batter that's in the pot as fluid as possible for as long as possible while the ones in the mold are setting up. And you know, if she's just working with 3 layers and giving herself time, she's slam dunk. That's absolutely perfect. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself today. I hope you learned something. If you did, you know, hey, thanks, cool. Subscribe to the channel, stick around. We'd love to have you. We are still doing a soapy giveaway, and my giveaways are not small. I'm giving away over $500 of soapy products, and that's like Christmas gifts for everybody. You're gonna love that. My products are cheap, so that's a lot of product. And if you are interested in purchasing the Pride bar, you can totally do that. It's on the website. It's soapandplay.com. If you're interested in following me on social media, I'm there. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And if you are interested in, you know, a custom order or any sort of cool ideas for soaping, send them my way. I'd love to play with your thoughts and, you know, make content. So yeah, again, thank you so much for joining me for another round of 365 days of soap, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.